This telescope is worth at least $3,000, my dad said, carefully packing my beloved Celestron into its case. Emma's TikTok setup will cost about that much. It's a fair trade. My heart sank as I watched him dismantle the instrument I'd spent 3 years saving up for. Every weekend job, every tutoring session, every penny of birthday money had gone into buying that telescope. My name is Michael, and at 24, I was about to watch my parents prioritize my 18-year-old sister's social media dreams over my astronomy passion yet again. Dad, please, I tried one last time. That telescope is more than just equipment. I've been tracking a peculiar object in the Kuiper Belt for months. The data could be significant. He didn't even look up. Significant for what, Michael? Emma could make real money as an influencer. Astronomy is just a hobby. My mother stood in the doorway, nodding along. Honey, your sister has a real chance here. She already has 10,000 followers. This could be her career. I watched helplessly as my father carried my telescope downstairs. Through the window, I could see Emma bouncing excitedly next to his car, already planning her next viral dance video. The telescope would be sold to some hobby shop, and by evening, my sister would have her professional lighting set up, new cameras, and whatever else she needed to become TikTok famous. What they didn't know was that the peculiar object I'd been tracking wasn't just another piece of space rock. For months, I'd noticed something odd about its trajectory, something that didn't fit with typical orbital patterns. I've been meticulously documenting my observations, cross-referencing them with astronomical databases, and building a comprehensive dataset. That evening, as Emma set up her new equipment in what used to be our shared study space, now her content creation studio, I sat in my room, staring at my incomplete data sheets. Years of research, countless nights of observation, all disrupted because my parents couldn't see past the allure of social media fame. Check this out. Emma's voice carried through the wall, followed by the beat of whatever trending song she was dancing to. Mom, Dad, I think this filter makes me look just like Addison Rae. I pulled out my laptop, opening the email I'd been drafting to Dr. Anderson, my former astronomy professor. I'd been hesitant to share my observations without more concrete data, but now I had no choice. My telescope was gone, and with it, my ability to continue tracking what could be the most important discovery of my life. Dear Dr. Anderson, I typed, I'm writing to share some unusual astronomical observations I've made over the past few months. I attached my data files, charts, and photos, explaining my methodology and the peculiarities I'd noticed. It felt incomplete, but it was all I had left. 2 days later, as Emma celebrated hitting 15,000 followers with a special live stream, my phone buzzed with an email notification. Dr. Anderson's name appeared on my screen, along with a subject line that made my heart stop. Urgent, NASA needs to see this. My hands trembled as I opened the email. Michael, your observations are extraordinary. I've shared your data with colleagues at NASA's Near-Earth Object Program. They want to meet with you immediately. This is not a drill. Before I could process what this meant, another email arrived, this one directly from NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office. They wanted to video conference with me in 2 hours. I sat there, stunned, as Emma's celebration continued downstairs. Through my floor, I could hear my parents praising her latest video. You'll be verified in no time, sweetie, Mom gushed. This investment was worth every penny. As I set up my laptop for the NASA call, a notification popped up on my phone. Emma had tagged me in her latest TikTok. Best brother ever. The caption read, showing off her new setup. The irony wasn't lost on me. The NASA scientists appeared on my screen exactly on time, their expression serious. Mr. Sullivan, the lead researcher began, your observations of Object KX 2024 are potentially crucial to Earth's safety. We've confirmed your calculations, and the object appears to be on an unusual trajectory that could bring it dangerously close to Earth's orbit. I tried to keep my voice steady as I explained my methodology, the patterns I'd noticed, and my concerns about the object's behavior. They listened intently, asking detailed questions about my observations. We need more data, one scientist said finally. But our preliminary analysis suggests you may have identified a previously unknown near-Earth object with potentially hazardous characteristics. This could be significant. I swallowed hard. I would love to continue tracking it, but my telescope, I trailed off, the loss suddenly feeling even more acute. Your telescope, the lead researcher prompted. It was sold, I said simply. Family priorities. The scientists exchanged glances. Mr. Sullivan, given the potential importance of your discovery, we'd like to invite you to continue your observations using our facilities. Would you be interested in joining our near-Earth object tracking team as a civilian consultant? Downstairs, I could hear Emma teaching my parents a new TikTok dance. They had no idea that while they were practicing viral moves, their son was being recruited by NASA to track what could be one of the most significant astronomical discoveries of the decade. Yes, I said firmly. I'm definitely interested the next morning as I packed my bags for NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena. My parents were helping Emma set up her morning live stream routine. The irony of timing wasn't lost on me. While they adjusted ring lights and sound equipment, I was preparing to potentially help save the planet. I'll be gone for a few weeks, I announced, wheeling my suitcase into the kitchen. Mom barely glanced up from Emma's phone where she was reviewing content metrics. A few weeks? What about your job at the library? She asked, still scrolling. I've taken a leave of absence, I replied. NASA needs me in Pasadena. That got their attention. Emma's live stream preparation halted mid-sit-up, and Dad's coffee mug froze halfway to his mouth. NASA. Dad's voice was a mix of disbelief and confusion. What do you mean, NASA needs you? I pulled out my laptop, showing them the official email. Remember that hobby I was pursuing with my telescope? The one you sold for Emma's TikTok setup? Well, I discovered something. Something big. As they read the email, their faces paled. Terms like potentially hazardous asteroid and Earth's orbital safety jumped out from the screen. Mom sank into a chair, while Dad kept rereading the NASA letterhead as if expecting it to disappear. But you're just... Dad struggled to find the words. Just what, Dad? Just an amateur astronomer. Just wasting my time on a hobby. The bitterness I'd been suppressing crept into my voice. Well, that hobby might have just identified an asteroid that NASA themselves missed. Emma, for once, was silent, her new ring lights casting harsh shadows across her shocked face. Is Earth in danger? She finally asked, her voice small. That's what I'm going to help figure out, I replied, checking my watch. My flight leaves in 3 hours. Michael? Mom started, her voice trembling. We didn't know. We thought. You thought social media fame was more important than scientific discovery, I finished for her. Well, now we'll see which one actually matters. The drive to the airport was quiet. Dad insisted on taking me, perhaps as some small gesture of redemption. As we pulled up to the terminal, he cleared his throat. Son, about the telescope. Save it, I cut him off. What's done is done. I have work to do now. The facilities at JPL were beyond anything I could have imagined. The first time I walked into their near-Earth object tracking center, I felt like I'd stepped into another world. Banks of computers displayed real-time data from telescopes around the globe, and scientists hurried back and forth, speaking in technical terms I'd only read about. Dr. Sarah Martinez, the lead researcher who'd interviewed me, greeted me warmly. Michael, welcome to JPL. Ready to show us exactly what you found. The next few days were a blur of calculations, observations, and intense discussions. The object I discovered, now officially designated as 2024 MS1, was indeed something unusual. Its orbit showed characteristics that concerned NASA's top scientists. The trajectory suggests a potential Earth approach within the next 18 months. Dr. Martinez explained during one briefing. Michael's initial calculations were spot on. If he hadn't noticed the anomaly when he did, she didn't need to finish the sentence. Everyone in the room understood the implications. Back home, my parents were trying to process the situation in their own way. Mom called daily, her voice always carrying a note of desperate apology. Dad sent awkward texts about seeing me on NASA's social media updates. Emma, surprisingly, was the one who seemed to understand the magnitude of what was happening. She'd stopped posting her usual content. Instead, her TikTok now featured videos about space, science, and surprisingly thoughtful commentary about following your passions. My brother showed me that some things are bigger than social media fame, she told her followers in one viral post. One evening, after a particularly intense day of calculations, I received a package from home. Inside was a framed photo of me with my old telescope, taken the day I first set it up. Attached was a note from Emma. I sold all my new equipment. It's not much, but maybe it can help you buy another telescope when you come home. I'm sorry we didn't see how important your work was. Love, M. I stared at the note for a long time, emotions I couldn't quite name welling up inside me. The next morning, during our daily briefing, Dr. Martinez made an announcement that put everything in perspective. Thanks to Michael's initial discovery and our subsequent observations, we've confirmed that 2024 MS1 poses a significant but manageable threat, she said, pulling up a complex orbital diagram. We're already developing mitigation strategies. The early warning gives us time to act. She turned to me, her expression serious but proud. Your hobby just gave Earth an 18-month head start on preventing a potential impact event. Not bad for an amateur astronomer with a hobby telescope, wouldn't you say? I thought about Emma's note, about my parents' misguided priorities, about the telescope they'd sold. Sometimes the universe has a way of putting things in perspective. While they'd been chasing social media fame, I'd been watching the skies, and the skies had shown me something that would change everything. 3 months into my work at JPL, everything had changed. NASA's announcement about 2024 MS1 had made global headlines, and suddenly, amateur astronomy wasn't just a hobby anymore. My parents' attitudes underwent a transformation as dramatic as any astronomical event I ever studied. Your brother is working with NASA to protect Earth, I overheard Mom telling her friends on the phone. The same pride in her voice you once used when discussing Emma's follower count. Dad had started reading astronomy magazines, leaving them conspicuously open on the coffee table when neighbors visited. But the biggest change came from Emma. She completely rebranded her social media presence, transforming from dance videos to science communication. Her new content focused on making astronomy accessible to young people, often featuring video calls with me where I explained our work at JPL in terms her followers could understand. My latest video about 2024 MS1 got 2 million views, she told me during one of our calls. People actually want to learn about space. Who knew? I smiled, watching her enthusiasm for something genuinely meaningful. Just don't tell them too much about our deflection plans. Some details need to stay classified. The irony wasn't lost on either of us. Her new success came from sharing the very science our parents had once dismissed. One evening, during a crucial calculation session, Dr. Martinez called me into her office. Michael, we've been reviewing the deflection mission parameters, and there's something you should know. She pulled up a complex series of trajectories on her screen. The mission has been approved. We're sending a spacecraft to intercept 2024 MS1, and your calculations will be instrumental in its guidance systems. I sat there stunned. You mean? Yes, she smiled. The same amateur observations that you made with your backyard telescope are now helping us design a planetary defense mission. Speaking of which, she reached under her desk and pulled out a large case. My heart stopped when I recognized the logo. Celestron, the same brand as my old telescope, but this was their top-of-the-line professional model. NASA has a tradition of recognizing significant contributions to planetary defense, she explained. We thought this was appropriate, given how your journey started. I opened the case with trembling hands. The telescope inside was more advanced than anything I'd ever dreamed of owning. I don't know what to say. Say you'll set it up at your parents' house when you go home next week, she suggested. Show them what real investment in science looks like. The day I returned home, carrying both the NASA telescope and a new sense of purpose, I found my family had prepared a surprise. They converted Emma's content creation studio back into an observatory, complete with a rotating dome they'd had installed on the roof. Emma's idea, Dad said quietly as I stood there speechless. She sold all her equipment and convinced us to match the funds. Said it was time we invested in something that actually mattered. Emma stepped forward, holding a familiar case. We also found this, she said, opening it to reveal my old telescope. The hobby shop owner saw you on the news and contacted us. He kept it in storage, hoping we'd want it back. Mom wiped tears from her eyes. We were so wrong, Michael. We couldn't see past our own narrow vision of success. I looked at my old telescope, then at the new NASA one, thinking about the journey that had brought me here. Let's set them both up, I suggested. The old one may not be as powerful, but it found 2024 MS1. It deserves a place of honor. That night, we had our first family stargazing session. I showed them how to track objects across the night sky, explained basic celestial mechanics, and even let Emma livestream parts of it to her now science-hungry followers. You know, Emma said during a break between observations, I have more followers now than I ever did doing dance videos. Turns out people care about things that actually matter. Dad adjusted the telescope's alignment, his hands careful and respectful. I keep thinking about how close we came to missing this, to dismissing something vital because we couldn't see past our own preconceptions. The universe has a way of putting things in perspective, I replied, thinking of the asteroid that had changed everything. Sometimes it takes something big to make us see what's truly important. A notification popped up on my phone. Another update from JPL. The deflection mission was proceeding on schedule. In 15 months, a spacecraft carrying humanity's hopes would intercept 2024 MS-1, nudging it away from Earth's orbit. And it all started with a hobby telescope that my parents had once thought worthless. Mom touched my arm gently. We're so proud of you, Michael, not just for the NASA work, but for showing us what real success looks like. Through the telescope's eyepiece, the stars shone bright and clear. Somewhere out there, 2024 MS-1 continued its journey through space, unaware of how it had helped a family realign its priorities and discover what truly mattered. Sometimes the biggest changes come from looking up at the stars and daring to see beyond our own small world.